Hi there, readers and writers. My name's Miss Hudson, and I'm your virtual teacher. Welcome to our next lesson on this week's topic around screen addiction. This is going to be lesson 32 today, so I'm glad you've rejoined us as we continue to look at our guiding questions. How is the adolescent brain changing? And how can I make an informed decision about an issue like screen time and then effectively argue my position? So as we discussed in the previous lesson, it's not that you have to agree that this particular piece of writing applies to your life. A lot of seventh graders don't have smartphones or they don't play video games. There's all kinds of seventh graders that don't do that. But I do want you to put yourself in the place of an average adolescent and what this article is saying about research around this second guiding question. Make an informed decision about the effect of screen time. This article specifically mentions research that has been done and questions that people are asking around the effect that screen time has on our adolescent children, our young people. And so we've been reflecting a little bit this week about how many hours a week do you use screen time? Do you notice that it affects you positively or negatively? And how do you balance in your awareness time with screen and time maybe outside or time in other ways? Yesterday, we looked at the part of the article that was talking about zero sum. It's the idea that you can't be on screen and outside at the same time for the most part. So if you're doing one of those things, you're not doing the other. And that's what they meant by zero sum. Okay, we're going to get started today. We're going to take a quick pause, make sure you have all of your materials for lesson 32. You'll need the article, you'll need the lesson and the lesson 32 note catcher and a writing utensil. So make sure that you grab those things, pause the video now, and come on back and push play when you're good and ready to begin. I'll be here. All right, let's get started. We have one learning target today. I can determine the main idea and supporting details of a text. And this will be on a section of text. We're going to do a close reading again today. So you'll notice in lesson 30 that we read the entire article, the entire 3-page article. And then yesterday we read 2 subsections, and today we're going to do the same thing. We're going to reread a section of the text and take a look at some specific ideas around main idea and supporting details. Okay, so the 2 sections that you're going to read today are beginning on page 2. There's a section called Devices Can Be Distracting. You're going to read that section and the last section. And again, like yesterday, I didn't love the way that this article was segmented. So you'll notice on the very bottom line of page 2 in your article is the heading for what I want you to do your second part of reading around. It says, Apple planning to give parents more ways to control phone use. And then that part of the reading today is actually on page 3. So find these 2 sections in your article. We're going to do a close reading of these. And while you're reading them, I'd like you to think about the message of this section and consider how screen time can be a distraction for you. Often middle school students do not have cell phones, but think about how this might affect you if you did have a cell phone or if you do, actually. I can tell you as I think about this, there were times when I would be out at a restaurant or, somewhere where you're paying money to sit and be together as a family. I'll see a family out to dinner at a restaurant and like everyone in the family is on their cell phone and nobody's talking. So for me, I think, why are we paying good money to have this experience? Nobody's even chatting with each other. So I know I'm old and I think about these things, and I'm a teacher and I think about these things. But, how can the screen be a distraction from actually engaging with the people you're with, whether they be your friends or your family or a team or just people in the community maybe you don't even know that well? The screen can be a barrier. So I want you to think about that as you read these two sections. Go ahead and pause the video for about 10 minutes. Take a look at those two sections and then come on back and we'll do today's lesson. We'll see you in about 10 minutes. All right, welcome back. Well, I'd really like you to have a little conversation. You've reread the two sections of the article that we're going to focus on today. So maybe with a family member or a caregiver or a friend, while maintaining focus of these negative impacts of screen time, we know there are positive impacts too. So how does your school use screen time for part of the learning? And why would some schools be technology free? I know a couple schools like that. So that's an interesting thought. And how old do you think you should be before having a phone, specifically a smartphone or a cell phone? Doesn't have to be an iPhone. I know this particular article mentions iPhone as in the Apple Corporation, but it could be, there are so many different kinds of smartphones. So whatever it is. But how old do you think you should be before you have one? So pause the video and have a conversation around these questions with someone in your family or in your area. And I'll wait here. You can pause the video. I'll see you back here in a few minutes. All right, great. Well, you know what? I'm sure a lot of things come up and we don't always agree, young people and older people, people in a family, people in schools or in the community. We don't always agree about how to do things. Of course, there were no cell phones when I was your age. In fact, I'm so old that there were no computers when I was your age. Certainly not in schools. So I'm sure there were supercomputers somewhere with NASA or scientists or something, but not where I grew up in Michigan and not at schools when I was in 7th grade, for sure. So things change very rapidly and we're not always current. So we know that those conversations that you have with family members or people in your area, we know that we might not agree on things, but I think it's important anyway. And it helps us prepare for our lesson. So your lesson 32 note catcher has 4 parts, and there are some questions that you're going to answer. And keep in mind, your note catchers from lesson 30 and 31 and 32 can support you later in the week on other things that you're going to do in your lessons. So always keep that in mind. Don't lose track of your good thinking with your note catchers, okay? So question 1 on your note catcher today is, what kinds of technology do you use at school? This is super simple. Like, if you were to go to school, what kinds of technology do you use there? The second question is, what kind of technology do you use at home? So don't forget that anything about television or like different channels that you can watch, or video games or iPads or tablets or cell phones, that all is part of the answer there. The third question is, do you think that parents should have more control over your technology use? Now, be open-minded about this. Do you think that they should have more control over your technology use? You can add in there why or why not. Because often our young people think that they should be able to just do whatever they want. And I want you to really think deeply about a parent's role in protecting you during developmental years. So just your opinion there. And then what is the main idea of these two sections of the article? So very specifically going back to only the last two sections and what was the main idea. I'm going to have you pause the video for about 15 minutes, fill in this note catcher, and then come on back and we'll finish today's lesson. All right, so not too tough. Thanks for playing along with my game. I appreciate you. I want you to be able to share the dialogue you're having in your head with others in your household. Share your writing with someone and tell them about the importance of like getting enough sleep or monitoring your screen time and all of these kinds of ideas. You've done a lot of article reading about getting good exercise, eating well, all the parts of the brain that are affected by these activities, most especially screen time in our article this week. After you complete your assignment, remember to read something for your own pleasure with a friend or with a family member for another 20 minutes. And your fluency practice today is to read the text, that article about screen addiction, with fluency and expression at least 2 times. I really appreciate your efforts in doing that, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Make it a great day.